All right. So let's do it this way. All right. Ridiculous. All right. Let me go here. All right. So unfortunately, I went to re-download Streamlabs. Somehow it got jacked up and it's not working in real time. So that is what it is. At least now I don't have to worry about trying to screen share with you guys because that's not going to happen. But I can go through all the stuff I was still going to. There's TA questions, I'll just post them instead of showing you in real time. But there's the famous exit sign. There's my creepy hatch. I've never been up there. I don't want to. But let's see. So I did have people that wanted me to go over some old DD because they either forgot it or they don't know how to explain it. So I'm going to work on that first. Hopefully that's okay with the few people that are here. People clowning me right now in my texts. So, yo, what up, Gunner? So one of the things, two things I get hit up the most about. Yes, I need to shave. It's getting gross. No, I am not on a pirate ship. That's hysterical. You know what? I'm gonna pin that because that's hysterical, bro. So SOFR and the arbitrage trading are the two that get hit up the most about. It's also the two things that I hear people screw up the most when I pop in and out of spaces and they're trying to regurgitate my stuff. So with the arbitrage systems, right, they have it in the options chains and they have it through regular trading through the HFTs, which is how you get short ladder attacks, right? But it's literally just latency arbitrage being done through regular shares. So with the options chains, they go calls on one exchange, puts on another, right? And they catch the time differences. If Streamlabs was working, I had all kinds of stuff pulled up for pictures and stuff to show you guys, but you know, nothing wants to work today. So with the arbitrage through the regular shares, though, they do it with currencies too. By the way, so let's just say NBBO on New York Stock Exchange is $1.50, and on NASDAQ, it's $1.47. They'll buy it on NASDAQ for $1.47, and they'll use the HFT to trade quick enough where it goes to the New York Stock Exchange and they sell it for 3 cents higher. But they also, this is where the short ladder attacks come in. Yes, I do have permanent air quote fingers. They set a sell limit on exchange A, and they go short on exchange B, and it goes down, 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 which is if you buy the dip, you're actually helping them short. When you buy the rip, you're forcing them to cover faster, and it actually launches the price, which is why when there's high buy pressure at the bottom of their spread, it shoots up really, really hard. So buying the dip is actually stupid. Not financial advice, obviously. Buy whenever you want. I don't really care. It's your money, but people are conditioned to do stupid things. So you're actually helping them short when you buy the dip. Go figure. So the reason why they set that limit, right, is because as they go down, that's their hedge. Because depending on how the shorts move and how they have to cover, they'll cancel that limit. Or depending on how they do it, they'll let that go through, sell them, and then cover. So it's a way for them to generate self-liquidity where they're actually paying themselves, which is screwed up. But if you notice, over time, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That happens after a big run-up. Like when we have a day or two where it's like where AMC runs a lot or whatever ticker, you'll notice that for another like month or two, that gap that they short ladder it down slowly gets smaller because they're running out of money. This is where the options come in, right? Because they hedge their bets against options. They hedge everything. As we play the options chain, we refuel them, right? Like if you guys watched two of Trey's most recent videos, he literally takes everything I say and says it verbatim. He even uses the term doom and gloom, which was funny to me. But when I go over the OCC data and I show you guys how many tens to hundreds of billions a week that they make, and that they made somewhere around like $7 trillion last year. $7 trillion in premiums. And everybody still wants to keep playing. One of these days, I'm going to get Lab Stream. Oh my God, Streamlabs to work on this MacBook. And I'm going to get Dr. Bonds on here. And hopefully he's drinking that day. And I'm going to have him break down how dumb it is for retail to play options 95% of the time. He's going to destroy everything you guys have ever heard from anyone else. I am watching Bloomberg at the same time. So back up for a second. Okay. When you buy those contracts and you sell them for premiums, yes, they have to hedge for them, but that doesn't really matter. Good job, Crystal Bulls. Options are terrible. But on squeeze plays, they're not smart. You literally load. Oh, David's in the house. So you're loading their boat, right? Yeah, they have to buy the shares back if you sell for a premium, but they're getting those shares for cheap. If the price is at 10 and you sell at 90, they're getting 100 shares at $10. You don't think they're going to short you back down with it? Actually, Funny you should ask that about the shorts covering. So, Dr. Bonds, I love when he explains this. So, if you guys don't know who he is, he's a risk mitigator for a major bank on the New York Stock Exchange floor. He explains things to the legal degree he is able to, but Merrill Lynch is now responsible for more investments. That sucks because both is going down. But when he explains how they literally have to cover every hour or like he'll get fired, it cracks me up. That's why Citadel is long, right? If you guys can't, okay. So when I posted that screenshot of the SEC stuff, it looked like code. But what was happening, they screwed up typing it in there and it changed the format, which is dumb. But there was a section there that said shared. They have zero. Citadel literally has zero shares that are being borrowed, according to that document. Now it is legal, so they're lying, they'll get caught. But that was something that people didn't catch either, right? The fact that none of their 33,600 shares were being borrowed. Interesting fact. But they've been covering off and on. The threshold list proves this in the FTDs. If they never covered, we would have, billions of FTDs. So the next person that texts or messages me about the shorts covering, one of these days I'm going to do one of these in my leggings and make all of you puke. So just lost my train of thought because of the freaking leggings things. But okay, let's cover the threshold list then. The FTDs don't matter. I hate to say it, but they don't. The reason why they don't matter is because they're behind. You can literally look and go, okay, the last one was, I know it was January 14th or whatever day it was, but you go to December 15th, whatever date that was, that Friday. You look to go, there was 240 some thousand, whatever. Maybe there's 400, whatever it was. You go down about 2 weeks right before New Year's. There was 3 or 4 candles alone that totaled 5 or 6 million positive volume. I hope people don't come for the leggings. That'd be gross. But they could have covered all of those FTDs 10, 20 times over in that run up. Do you see what I'm saying? Any big candle, they can wipe out the entire FTDs in one shot. And we'll never know if it's retail or them doing it. And to be honest, you need 0.05% of a float to be on a threshold list. So everybody's freaking out about 200,000 shares. Miss me with it. If you want to do the math, you can do the math. You need way more. You need like 1 million or 2 to be on a threshold list for AMC. And we've been on it before. And it didn't do anything. Right? Because it's 2 weeks behind. And they have T35. So they have 35 days to cover just enough shares to be 0.049999% of the float. Once that happens, 35 days restarts. It's that easy. And you get into the whole DTC bank account with the separate NSCC one where they can park the shares. That's actually how they do that, right? When people say, oh, they're parking shares, they actually keep them in the DTC as long as they can before they switch them to the NSCC. That is in the paperwork, but that's actually how that's done, right? Because people don't explain when they say things. But They can partially let go. They can fully bring them from one account to the other to get cleared, or they just sit them there for as long as possible. Not only that, when it comes to the FTDs and shorts, there's something called a securities contract that they can enter with the market makers, right? That is not disclosed to the public. They make that deal and it goes, it gives them a arbitrary amount of time and an arbitrary price. So you could have bought a share of, XYZ for $22.50. But if they need to cover and they enter one of those security contracts, they might have 6 months and they might only have to pay $19.50. Or they might have to pay $30. We're not privy to that legally. So that's something that needs to be rectified by the SEC, because it's our money. We need to know where it goes. And they are able to put up things as collateral to make short shares go away. They can put up the cash for it, where they can literally go, here's the $40 million we need to give you to cover all those shares. That way, as the shares become available, they're just switched out. They can do collateral, right, for rehypothecation. They can do the security contracts. There's a bazillion ways that they can do this stuff. So that's why I always say, it's just because it might seem unethical or unfair doesn't mean it's illegal. SOFR, right? Because this is something else that people always ask me about. Oh, how do you actually win? You just, well, hold on. Let me make sure I'm not going to say something stupid. Patience. Gunner, patience. Fortunately, it's the only way. Right? If I'm being completely honest, if retail didn't waste all of this money on premiums all the freaking time, we'd be in a much different situation. Because the more shares that we own as investors, the more margin they have to have. The more that they have to hedge against actually raises their margin requirements. So people always want to say and freak out, oh, they need to hedge, they need to hedge. Yeah. But if no one has any shares, they're not hedging against much. Their margin requirements are low. For off-exchange trading. So Aaron's asking about regulations being passed for off-exchange trading. It's already been happening. They were proposed September through November. Spaces I have covered these in. I'll have to dig them back up, but the biggest ones were NASDAQ, NISA, CBOE. They're doing competitive rules against each other, where they're increasing their rebates, and they're changing the rules where they can't send out and cross platform. Oh, what up, Waldo? Where they can't partial fill on different exchanges for different prices. So the reason why they're doing that is because they want to make the market more competitive. And if it becomes cheaper, right, through rebates, and when I say rebates, if you do X amount of shares in amount of time, exchanges will give you a rebate per share. It's like 0.0025. It's like a quarter of a penny per share, or sometimes it's less than that. Yeah, the new margin requirements I already covered in a couple of spaces, pools. Everything's basically being doubled, right? Like it went from 10K to 250K. Now it's going from 250 to 500K. And then that ruling, it did break it down by if you want to be an insurance company within the market, if you want to be contra, it breaks it down by actual individual entity style. Some of them went up exponentially, depending on what you wanted to do. But with them taking the cost of payment for order flow is going to drop with these new competitive rulings against each other. And they all said that the reason why they want to do that is they want to take money out of the alternative trading systems and bring it back to the real market. Because if it's cheaper for them to go ATS, which includes dark pools, why wouldn't they? I mean, it's just rich people doing rich people shit. So the exchanges are trying to make that cheaper to get more business, which I don't blame them. Even MX, the worst exchange on the planet. Well, hold on. IEX is the worst exchange on the planet. MEMX is just where all the a-holes play. They're even changing their requirements for their scheduling fees to make it more competitive, to make it more fair for the market and for more liquidity, right? Because that's another thing too. The more orders that get routed through real exchanges, there's more liquidity in the market, makes it easier for them to pay. So if you guys want a big payday, we need more orders to go non-ATS. So with SOFR, right? I know people got hype about that, right? Because it was going active January 4th. With that, there's a lot of things happening, right? Dr. Bonds can talk about this a little bit too when he'll eventually come on with me, but mortgage-backed securities are playing a huge role in this. It's one of the reasons why you're seeing houses that were 3, 4, 500,000 now going for $1 million, $2 million, right? You have all the big banks and institutions buying up all these properties for 2 to 10x property value. I would too if I was them. If I'm just being honest. Like, because you're able to use that as collateral against the derivative chain. Like, if you're buying a really expensive contract for $2,000 and you have that one property that you bought for $20 million, even though it's only worth 800,000, you're going to make so much more money using that as collateral through the derivative chain. You'll make that back in no time from retail being dumb, playing options when they shouldn't be because they don't know what they're doing. And then getting all the shares repetitively from that. Right. So, they're gonna crush people with that. And that's one of the ways of how they're actually collateralizing all of these shares. So the MBS system's actually working the way it should be, which is actually hurting us though, secretly. This blanket's making my laptop hot. But you guys are watching me struggle bus in real time. I was not prepared today at all for this. But so they've had 2 years. So a lot's going to make sense real quick when I say this. So if you've been watching the real estate market, the past 2 years prices have skyrocketed beyond belief. Technically, we're in the 3rd year now. It makes sense as to why. This is it. They were loading up the boat, getting ready for SOFR. I read an article about a week or two ago, and they were literally saying how that the banks were using MBSs to help secure SOFR down. And it's the only thing that made sense of how they're getting through this. Because there's not enough money in the world for them to. Yeah, no, get it together. Struggling today. But when you're paying 10x on something, It makes it real easy to collateralize things because they're also able to use shares to collateralize too, so they can put up straight up cash, shares, anything with a secured loan, right? So houses, cars, credit cards, student loans, boats, anything like that, anything that has a loan with a tangible item attached to it, or that they can physically take from you. You put all of those things together, and is how they're doing it. David makes a great point. Why do you think Ken Griffin bought the Constitution for all that money? What kind of piece of collateral that is? So they're playing nasty games, and it's just how it's going. There's no way around it. But that's so at the NFT game and the art world. It's one of the reasons why prices are booming. If you've been reading the articles, the IRS is really ramping up and getting ready to wreck people on the taxes for NFTs. A lot of the Bloomberg, and I'm not going to say the articles from the companies that we know are just BS, but Bloomberg and a bunch of other people that are actually reputable are saying the IRS is going to wreck people on taxes because they didn't think and they weren't ready for it. So there's going to be a lot of problems for a lot of people. But you see these stupid NFTs going for $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. It's just a stupid JPEG. Who do you think is buying that? It's not Bill Gates. Sure as hell ain't me. They're in institutions. So they're using them as a collateral system. So David, I'm going to beat you to something. China developer Country Garden sells $3.9 billion of Hong Kong convertible bonds. It just happened. So, China sucks as always. But let me click on one or two of these other files that I have here. So this is for the Miami Exchange. It's MIAX. 2021 Rule 58. Release number 34-93972. They are proposing and filing with the SEC that they want to adopt a new managed. Remember I said there's all these rule changes coming to the options chain to get ready for squeezes? This is a big one because a lot of options, a lot of derivatives are run through the Miami Exchange and the Philly one. So to adopt a new managed protection override feature or max put price or a max put price protection feature in a new Miami Exchange strategy price protection, which will be included in new Rule 532, order and quote price protection mechanism and risk controls. The proposed rule change was published for comment in the Federal Register on December 3rd. The Commission has received no comments or letters regarding the proposed rule change, which means it's going to be fast-tracked. Within 45 days, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, I did go back and read that rule. What they're doing is they're preparing for something, right? So they're trying to protect themselves on the way up and the way down. So yes, David, thank you for taking care of those things in the comment section for me as always. what so what these rules are, right? Because I know back in October I was going over these rules too, like similar things. When a price goes from 10 to 190, they're going to try to limit the spread on the options. Or reversely, on the way down, when it goes all the way up, they need to watch out to make sure somebody doesn't take a put and drive it all the way down and make like a quadrillion dollars on one play. That means they know what's coming. So I keep saying they're mitigating all of it. Oh my God, David, you're such a dick. I'm going to pin that one now. I know the pirate chip one was funny, but that one wins. David's comments now pinned. Like it's we're winning. That's all that matters. Slowly, very slowly, but we're winning. It's just patience, right? It sucks. But the fact that, all of China's biggest companies are failing, ours, even though they're artificially inflated, they're still standing. I know Kathy Woods clapped back today. I know she's trying to save her butt because she's been struggling a lot, but I don't understand that question. Yes, David, that's why he bought the Constitution. Because that actually has value, right? So, like, when they buy pieces like the Constitution, I always use Jackson Pollock's because he's, a recent painter that everybody really knows, kind of knows who he is. And his paintings also go for like $20 million. Technically, NFTs are tangible. You have to print them out. They're technically non-fungible. That's why it's called a non-fungible token. Just to let you know. So, I mean, you can physically print out an NFT picture and have a tangible item. It's not be worth anything, but it's physical. So, everybody getting so smart in my spaces. No one has any questions anymore. So proud. Actually, this might be something worth reading to you guys real quick. I need to comb this too. Yeah, this goes into what I was talking about the NBBO. It's going to go for all major exchanges too, starting with the New York, but it's going to transfer over. Okay, so the purpose of this rule says the exchange proposes to modify Rule 7.31 to add new Rule 7.31A3 to provide an inside limit order. Okay, I'm not going to explain what that is because they're going to word it in a very specific way right here. It says that is to be traded at the best price obtainable without trading through the NBBO. That would provide that on arrival, a marketable inside limit order to buy or sell would be assigned a working price of the NBO and would trade with all seller buy orders on the exchange book priced at or below/above the NBBO before routing to the NBO on an away market Once the MBO is exhausted, the inside limit order to buy would be displayed at its working price and be eligible to trade with the incoming sell orders at that price. When the updated MBO is displayed, the inside limit order to buy would be assigned a new working price of the updated MBO and would trade with all the sell orders on the exchange book on an away market. Such assessment would continue at each new NBO until the order is filled or no longer marketable or the limit price is reached. When the inside limit order is no longer marketable, it would be ranked and displayed on the exchange book. This rule would provide that an inside limit order may not be designated as a limit IOC, but may be designated as a limit routable order. An inside limit order to buy, designated as a limit routable, would trade on the exchange book priced at below or above the MBO, and the quantity not traded would be routed to the MBO, and the unfilled quantity of the inside limit order not traded on the exchange or in a way market would be canceled. So they're actually making rules where certain types of limit orders, now limit orders do not allow for price discovery, or if you're trying to make a price of a stock go up, limit orders do not help with that. Once again, your money, do what you wish. So what this is saying is they're not going to trade it away to fill any part of an order. If the best available price isn't there, they're not going to scalp you for it. They're actually going to go, no, we're going to wait this next latency round, which is obviously a blink of an eye. And we're going to go, oh, here's the next best price without ever going over your limit. So this is actually something that is going to guarantee price discovery. If that sounded confusing. Like this is something that people have been complaining about for the past year. Price discovery, lit markets, blah, blah, blah. Well, here you go. There's a rule that's going to be going through all of them. So, there's another source of how we're winning. No verbiage issues in my comment section, please. I have PTSD from verbiage problems with IEX. Not a die? What is that? I don't know what it is. Oh my God. That's hysterical. We are not going into the anatomy of ducks right now. No, I'm not doing it on here. That was one time in a space call, and I'm not doing it on YouTube. Funny comment though. So blue chips and coins. Whenever there's a correction, blue chips always take a massive hit, right? Because people do long-term growth in those. They put a lot of money and get the dividends from them. So as people need money, they go, hey, I'll pull it out of here. So those prices start to tank. And then people short them on the way down. People make money on the way down. So the prices tumble, right? And because they're so big, where you take a stock like Amazon, Tesla, Apple that are hundreds to thousands of dollars, if they drop $2,000, yeah, the company's taking a massive hit, but it's still worth $600, $700, $800. So it's still a powerhouse regardless. Like Apple's not going to go to 10. Like that's just absurd. But the coins though, like we know they are the king pump and dump. There's no way around it. Just no way. They have upwards of 100x leverage on all coins. it's been reported that 90% of all crypto and shitcoins are owned by institutions anyway. So if you guys want to know how they go up and down so hard so often, that is why. I know that should be old news for most people, but when people are screaming and shouting on Twitter, look how much we raised the price. Nah, bitch. They own 90%. So that is what it is. But once it comes time, these coins are gonna start crumbling. Russia, as a matter of fact, speaking about coins, today they came out and flat out said that they're going to try to stop crypto mining and all crypto trading in Russia. So there's another major world powerhouse that's trying to kill crypto, right? We know China did it, Russia's doing it. Granted, they're two tyrannical governments, but still, some of these third world countries are starting to adopt Bitcoin, ETH, and stuff like that into their currency funds. But if the powerhouses don't do it, it's not going to matter. So the coin people better figure out what they're doing, right? Like the Fed. The reason why the whole market tanked the last hour is because there was a huge amount of bond sell-offs, right? The 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 3 year, 10 year, 20 year, 30 year, they all had mass sell-offs today because the Fed Reserve's playing games, right? They're literally FAFOing. So it didn't help that Yellen actually came out and said, inflation rose faster than we all thought, even myself. As soon as she said that, because the market's been wonky with the bonds anyway, the minute that they came out and said that, and the other day they started mentioning, hey, we might do a 50 basis point hike in March. Everybody was just like, oh no. And the bank started pulling bonds out. Because as the rates go up, the bonds are worth less than what they were. Which is why every time there's rate hikes, bonds get pulled, the market goes down. So, and now they're talking about they might have to do a small hike in the next couple of weeks because inflation came quicker, right? Which is why back in November I said they're going to double the tapering, so it'll be done in March. That happened. I said my actual guess was the first rate hike would be in March or April. Turns out it might actually be in February. So they're admitting that inflation is way worse than what they said and what they thought. So like there's stuff that's coming, right? Every time they have to do a hard taper, there's a taper tantrum, which causes a small correction within the market. Every time there's a bubble, obviously something goes down. The other day, I think it was 2 days ago, I was watching Bloomberg. I texted a couple of people. I was like, hey, you need to watch what's coming on next. There's a guy from one of the most successful institutions on the planet. No, it's not well known, but he did a 15, 20-minute spot pretty much saying everything I've said since May, right? He went over certain things from the repo market. He went over the housing bubble that's about to pop. He went over all of these things. I was like, hey, he sounds like me. I even texted one of these people. I was like, hey, listen to this guy. He sounds just like me. And he was just going on and on and on. And I'm like, it's coming, right? Because like 6 months ago or so, the head real estate guy for Blackstone, the company that started BlackRock, he on Bloomberg 20-minute spot, he flat out said it. The housing bubble is going to pop soon. Right? I mean, soon to him could be 2 years. Like who knows what his soon timeline is? But these people don't play around. They just don't. And when you hear people say, "Oh, the market's not going to go down," everything says that it will. The bonds say it will. The repo says it will. The admitted bubbles say that it will. The rumors of wars. In case you guys didn't know, when there's rumors of war, watch the markets. If they're started, the market always tanks. Um, because war is the easiest way to get a country out of financial problems. So there's that. Hold on. What's no apology sending me here? If I had 50 million to spend on a security, what is the best way to affect the price? Bruh, I can't really answer that question. Can't technically answer that, I don't think. I told you one of the ways that it's not. I'll leave it at that. So I'm just trying not to catch a case. So yeah. No fun questions. Level 4 doesn't exist, David. You know that. You would have to become an institution too, by the way. You have to be a registered institution. And I think be a market maker. Oh, here's a fun fact. Market makers. I was in a space. I think it was last week. Tuesday. I don't remember. It was either Friday or Tuesday. And I heard someone say 50 million. Oh, well, that's funny. So I heard someone saying that there's not enough market makers to cover all the options. And I literally fell over. No, Christine, if you had 50 million, you should still be here. Turn it into 300 million and then you go away. So when they said there wasn't enough market makers to cover the options, I literally almost fell over. Not because I was sick, because I was dumbfounded. So they were only talking about one stock. They weren't even talking about the entire market. I texted a group of people and I said, did he really just say this? There's 264 market makers, most of which are the institutions that control all the money on the planet. You don't think that they can cover? Right? And these same people listen to me in real time on my phone in a doctor's office parking lot, going through the options chain, doing quick mental math and calculator math, and showing how much money was being generated on, I would say it was 6 strike prices total. I think it was 5 calls and 1 put, or 4 calls and 2 puts, whatever it was. But the premiums generated on that alone was enough to cover all of the calls 4.5 times over in profit. And they're all like, wait, what? And I said, yeah, this is why you guys lose. Nobody listens. It wipes out your argument of saying how there's going to be a gamma. Your premium literally wipes it out to hurt them. Sure, they might have to buy shares, they might have to do this, and the price might go up. But they can pay out if all of those contracts go up 450%. It's already covered for free. They were like, whoa. Like stuff like that is so easy. But then, 2 minutes later, options, gamma. I'm like, oh, for the love of God, here we go. And look what happened. The price of that stock tanked. I'll just say what it is. It's BBIG. I actually, based on the price distribution chart, I was looking at it with somebody, and I was like, this might go to 224. And they were like, no. And I was like, well, I mean, it might. I'll laugh if it does. 'Cause that's where the gap fill is supposed to end. I'll just crack out if that happens. Okay. The next time somebody asks me about options in the dark pools, I'm going to find a way to ban people from YouTube streams. Um, oh, I can hide. I can hide people. Oh, I'm gonna put you in timeout. No, they cannot trade things in the dark pool. Like they cannot do options in the dark pool. So, oh, David, you too, bruh. Everyone's getting time. Everyone's going in timeout today. So they have to do real. Why did it work? There we go. Man, all y'all going in timeout. But like this, oh my god, I hate this so much. There's not even real shares traded through the dark pool. Like it. Their lines of credit. It's basically credit cards going back and forth. And when people say things like that, listen. I know I jokingly say all the time that they call us dumb money, but the people that say that are seriously dumb money. They just, Jonathan, I know I can kick people. I just don't want to actually kick those people. They're pushing my button because they know they can. They're just being funny. Although I can't take them out of timeout. That I did not know. So 5 minutes of silence. The shame. The shame. I'm sure they're texting my phone now. But yeah. I did come in contact with some people on Twitter recently that I thought knew about my stuff that didn't, surprisingly. So if you guys happen to be new, I will give you the quick rundown. This is not stock related for the next like minute or two. So I'm actually terminal, right? Whatever. I have my band for the foundation. It's diffuse cutaneous systemic scleroderma. Yes, I do raise awareness for it. No, I do not ask for donations to it for obvious reasons, but that's what I have. I thought everybody on Twitter knew, but obviously this is not Twitter. So it is not fun. It hurts. That's why I have the permanent air quote fingers, right? They're all just permanently bent. So good times. With that being said, any real questions? While I wait for that, I'm actually going to see if they texted me because they're probably blowing up my phone. Oh man. Surprisingly, didn't blow it up yet. So, and to answer that text message, no, not really nervous. I'm just struggle busting between Streamlabs, this stupid Sherpa blanket being too hot, my computer getting hot, just struggling. I do want to see if I can take you guys out of timeout though. No, guess not. Oh well. Yes, I will put people in timeout, just like in the spaces. But actually, you know what? There was another rule I can go over. Actually, uh, so oh, no, that's the arbitrage system. You know what? Do I actually want to post this or not? You know what I will do? I will actually go over the OCC data because this needs to be drilled home more. See, weekly volume statistics. Yes. So, in case anybody is wondering, that is how I get this. Weekly report, January 14th. Download. Open. So, plug my mouse in for this one. So, equity contracts last Friday, they made $61.2 billion in premiums. You can add another 786 million to that, which puts that at almost, no, that puts it just over 62 billion just for the equities. Okay. Now we do the indexes. The numbers do get smaller as we go through these. Just in case anybody was wondering. But all right, so we're gonna do 31, 1.5 billion plus 48 plus 49 million, 31.6 billion added to the other total. So we're at almost 100 billion already. And then do the ETFs. This is market wide, obviously. And this data does show you what each exchange makes per week. So for the people that put options, this is what happens. 17.5 billion plus another 880 million. Then at 18.4 billion there. So we're looking at $119 billion last week alone. Like, I don't know why this is still even like a conversation. This. Oh, okay. So someone did actually text me. How big is your pirate ship? You need an exit sign. Listen, bro. Okay, you're getting repinned. I see you came back for that title. So to explain that, right, on the intro video of the channel, the house that I live in, a long time ago, the first floor was converted into a business at one point. So there's an exit sign there, because there's a stairwell obviously right there. So just by building code, it's there and it has just stayed there. But it did give me a cool spot to hang the lights up. So that is why that is there. All right, hold on, checking texts. And then I will go through the other couple of comments. Oh my god, the text is funny as hell. So, someone just texted me something extremely funny. Um, okay, the shares are not in Brazil. Okay, if anyone on YouTube or Twitter tells you they are, type angrily at them. Okay, because I have proven this wrong to multiple people in 3 minutes on my cell phone with finding links to prove it. Right, this person. Oh, and now it's in the comments too. Um, they were asking if the shares are in the crawl space because they're not in Brazil. Listen, if I had all those shares, I would sell them all right now and be like a trillionaire. And I would buy all the islands. I'd be like, oh, the Caribbean, nah, fam. Feliz Navidad's coming home, baby. It's time to make that the United Islands of Tom. I wouldn't be playing around with that. These rules are coming. Can they no longer delay them? So most of these rules actually haven't been fought, right? Which is one of the cool things. Because most of these rules are actually coming from the institutional side. What up, McDiesel? Um, Shout out to McDiesel, by the way. Somebody made a thing on Twitter and said, "Who's your favorite space hosts?" He picked me. Um, so he's always welcome all up in my spaces. But because they're self-imposed, the SEC is not going to fight them. They're going to, hey, you want to make our job easier? Perfect, right? So there's going to be no bad comments from them. And if NASDAQ is making a good rule that'll make them money, then you see the CBOE and the New York Stock Exchange do it too. They're going to go, oh, wait, they're going to become more competitive than we are. We're going to lose transactions. We need to make a similar rule, right, to make it fair. So they're competing against each other to be more fair, open, and transparent. And I use fair and transparent because they're the words that they use in their own. I keep laughing about the freaking pirate ship now. Because that's the words that they're using, right? They're using our, right, being retail, our buzzwords in their new rulings, right? And it makes the SEC's job easier. So most of them aren't getting any bad comments, which means they're all being fast tracked. So that one rule was proposed and put up on December 3rd. It was actually technically enacted on the 17th, which is insanely fast. Which is a beautiful thing, right? A lot of these aren't going to go into full implementation until around March-ish. And a lot of the pilot programs that were to extend market-wide circuit breakers and investigation things were all pushed back to March and April. So we're seeing a lot of rules coming in to help regulate things, to make things more transparent, to improve payment for order flow. When I say improve, I mean not get rid of it. It's going to be more efficient. We'll get better prices. The exchange will have more liquid, right? So when it's time to pay, it'll be easier for them to pay. What up, March? I hope you do start making some calls, but margin calls aren't actually what we need. We actually need liquidations. Big difference, right? Margin calls happen all the time, right? Like, let's say you make a stupid trade and it goes down, and you're like, oh crap, but it was too close to the time you bought in. Depending on how your stuff's set up, you might get that email saying, hey, you screwed up. You owe us $16.34. You know what I mean? Like margin stuff happens all the time. It's the liquidations that we need. Yes, can margin calls help facilitate those? Of course. But the margin call is not the goal. It's the liquidations that we need. So I hope you call them multiple times. The rate hikes. Okay. So now there is rumors that they may happen within the next 2 weeks. And they're looking at a base start at 50 basis points. There was an institution that did come out the other day and said that they might end up doing 13 small rate hikes. Other banks are still saying 4 to 5, right? Which is what Powell said, right? When money printer goes burr, he said between like 4 and 5. So the institutions are kind of battling back and forth with who thinks who's right. If it's going to be a lot of little ones or just a couple of big ones. A lot of little ones would actually be better. So I'd rather there be 10 or 13 real small ones, because then they won't rug pull as hard, right? It'll be, but inflation won't be countered as hard either. So if they rip the band-aid off, it'll suck, but we'll get better faster. So it's one of those give and takes. Macau recovery is seeing lagging, but for what it's worth, if you guys did not know, there is a hotel and casino in Macau that is modeled after Lisbon, Portugal. There's your fun fact for the day. So, no, I do not know why they did that. It's just true. So, but what happens when the rate hikes come, right? When you get a bond at 0%, half a percent, right? Like how they've been sitting for a long time. If that goes from 0, 1% up to 2.5, 3, 4%, those bonds that are old basically become worthless. So as they go up, or right before they go up, the major institutions that own a lot of these will pull them out of the market, right? They'll sell them back to the Fed. That takes a lot of money out of the market. A lot. It also takes money from the Fed. It's obviously not a good thing. It helps the banks recoup quicker and sustain less losses, but it wrecks the market. If you literally Google, like, what happens during a massive rate hike, you'll see it. They have graphs and stuff on it. You can go back and you can correlate. Like the last time there was a rate hike, and then look what the market does, right? Like in November, there was a taper tantrum because they started the tapering process. So like it threw the market off, which is why November got real wonky at the end when prices started getting real weird all across the board. That was why. After 2008, it took 7 years for the taper tantrum to come because of how flooded the market was with cash after the money printer went burr. That the tapering didn't really have full effect until 2015. If you go to the SPY and you go to weekly or monthly candles, it's easier to see. If you do quarterlies, they're kind of just too tight. But if you do monthly in 2015, you'll see a bunch of red or yellow, purple, whatever color your down candles are. That was when the taper tantrum hit and the entire market was red for like 3 or 4 months straight. That's the kind of stuff that can happen. If the rate hikes are huge and the banks really pull out, we got problems. And one of the other crazy things is, now that people are used to seeing the news cycles and how wonky they all are, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe even 3, there was a lot of articles coming out saying, "Oh, this buy's going to hit 600. This buy's going to hit 550. This buy's going to hit 650." Like all these crazy astronomical numbers. But now they're like, "Oh no, 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 no! Inflation's way worse. We need to do X, Y, and Z. We need to do earlier rate hikes. We need to do more rate hikes." So what you're telling me is there's all these news articles that came out promoting this buy going to 550 to 630, and then 72 hours later, it was, "Oh no, all holy hell is breaking loose." All right, fam, because I don't see any more news pieces coming out saying that this buy is going to go to 600 anymore. All day on Bloomberg, it's the market doesn't know what it's doing. The market's rifling with strife because they don't know what's coming because the Fed didn't act quick enough, hard enough, like they were supposed to. Like when Powell in December came out, he said we're going to be very hawkish. The market was like, "Oh, thank God they're coming." Oh, what up, Johnny? Hope your wife's doing better. Um, it's He came out promising being hawkish, and they did nothing. And now we're seeing what we're seeing. All right, I'm back. I know. Get it together. I'm about to get that text again. All right, so Johnny wants to know what bank do I see folding first? Statistically speaking, the three most likely to go under first on the American side: BofA, Citi, Wells Fargo. BofA has the highest statistical chance. Citi and Wells Fargo are close to each other, but they're below BofA. With that being said, they're the three that are statistically the highest. You can actually Google that, by the way. Do like Bank of America chance of going bankrupt. Last time I checked, I think it was like 75% within the next like year or two, which is just insane. By the way, if you add them and Wells Fargo together and all their subsidiaries that follow, they control something like 40% of like the bank accounts and loans in the country. It's crazy. So, and he also said, does liquidation need to come before they tell themselves enough is enough? When that comes, they won't have a chance. With enough and big enough margin calls, you can get them to be like, "Oh, maybe we need to shape up." But once a liquidation comes, they'll lose entire sectors. or subsidiaries and stuff like that. By that, it's going to be such a huge hit to their business model that's going to be a crushing blow. I mean, no one's untouchable. Um, JP Morgan is set up, in my personal opinion. I do believe they are set up the best to make it through. Them being the big bank that ICE uses, right? Not not the deportation people, the people that own the New York Stock Exchange. You know that's their main clearing bank. So if you're doing all that clearing, you're making money. The fact that out of all the banks in the world, they are one of the top, if not the top, highest holder in money and assets, right? Like they are the bank. So are they untouchable? No. Are they poised better? Yes, I would say so. You're welcome, sir. I'm waiting for someone else to clown me right now. Y'all lucky I can't reverse this camera around. I give you guys 2 thumbs up with my big toes. If you guys are on Twitter, you know about that. Yes, I can actually stick them both straight up. Weird skill that no one needed to know, but that's how I roll. Bailouts. So it depends on the definition of bailouts. So they're not going to be like in 08. They're going to be different this time, if they even happen, right? Because the Fed's running out of money. So they physically may not be able to do it this time. Right? Because the DTCC and the NSCC basically already came out and said, no, we're not doing it this way. They'd rather auction off portfolios and take control. So if they're able to generate enough money from that, hopefully, the ones that should stay afloat. I'm hoping they actually allow some of these institutions to go under this time around, right? And don't expect people to go to jail either. I know it's not a very popular opinion, but listen, Kenny G's not going to prison. He's just not going to. He makes too much money. He controls too much, right? They need his brain. You know what? It sucks, but you know how much money he makes the country and how much power that him and Fink and Dally and all these guys give over the world because of the money system. Unfortunately, they're worth more out than they are in. Unpopular opinion. It's just the facts. Through this man, I know, shilly, but it's. I wouldn't be surprised if the ones that make out like a bandit, if they don't do self bailouts, like if they don't bail each other out to try to keep each other afloat. Right? If you guys have ever heard me talk before, I mention this all the time. There's something called the contingency clause. Between hedge funds, right? It's actually why Citadel gave Melvin the money. Yes, that is provable. If you go back and you read enough Citadel filings, you will find the PowerPoint presentation they gave to the SEC, which actually is where I found that contingency clause where it says if they're in business with each other, they're obligated to give money. So if one goes down, the next one doesn't because of how illiquid they are. In case you guys didn't know. So that's kind of how I would assume that would go. Not gonna lie, this is kind of nice. I can't have anyone come up and start screaming stupid stuff like they do on Twitter. Um, I don't get interrupted either. Funny comments will make me laugh, but it's actually kind of nice. There will be parts of Citadel that will go under, right? Kenny G will not go down, but there will be parts. There will be money managers, obviously, that lose their jobs and stuff like that. But he himself will not. And also, these institutions, they're incorporated, right? Or they're LLCs. They're considered a person or entities, right? So they get in trouble before the people do, right? So that's something that people have to realize too. It just is what it is. Um, it's almost as if I wish there was someone like Batman in the retail community that was such a good detective. He could help with this. Um, but you know, closest thing we got to that's probably Robin. If I'm being honest. I think I know who Bobo is, and it's hysterical. Oh my God! Somebody said a bat. That's hysterical. Um, don't turn that into soup. You'll have to get an extra Fauci ouchie. Um, so people get the bailout, baby hedge funds. Depending on how much money Citadel has, they might not be able to. Hopefully, when the liquidation happens, they're so hard and so fast that they all get caught. That's kind of the goal. Um, my watch just told me to increase my mindfulness. Negative. So, Bubbo, if you're from Texas, you just got mad at somebody. Um, when the liquidations come, hopefully they hit enough at such a quick amount of time where they can't afford to bail each other out. That that's that would be the goal. And like I said, the fact that Citadel really isn't even that short anymore, they're gonna make a killing when this thing pops off. I know, unpopular opinion. Going through the comment, yes, Citadel is not the biggest problem. They haven't been since March. I've been preaching about Bridgewater, Susquehanna, Parallax. Um, for what it's worth, Barclays. Barclays actually has more puts. Um, oh my God, that comment, bruh. That you're replacing the pirate ship, homie. I almost put you in timeout by accident. No, there are much bigger players than Citadel, much stronger hedge funds too, um, that are being used. So, right, Kenny G's the fall guy. He's what everybody was made to hate. BlackRock and Vanguard, they will be rich. They are the richest already. And here's the thing, they're also bad too, right? We're on their side, they're not on ours. I've been saying that since April because they're lending out the shares, right? Together, they own some ungodly amount of the float. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but it's some ungodly amount. And we know they're holding real shares. So, they're making money 8 weeks from Sunday. If they lend out 10 million a week, listen, they don't care how long this goes. They're going to keep making profits. But that comment, oh, so the first one, am I talking about Batman from Twitter? Yeah, unfortunately, I was. I did just throw that out there. So, but the other comment that Boss Blunt said that Kenny G's plane is going in circles. Not he's claiming that he's sure that he's avoiding the FBI. Not sure how much fuel he has, bruh. Dead. So, or to quote somebody else, I'm weak. It's I hate hearing this stupidity from people. If your plane flew 24/7, 365, it would explode. Your motor would give out. I mean, it's just like a car. You drive it too much, your engine gets on fire. It's insane. It's crazy. Um, like this stuff that people say is mind numbing at best. Oh, Citigroup's hiring one of the best Japanese bankers. Interesting. Oh, their merger acquisition specialist. Ooh, Citi trying to save themselves last minute. 13th hour. So it's I hate hearing what other people say sometimes because it's so stupid. Kenny did an interview the other day in the United States. His plane isn't flying 24/7. He's not avoiding the FBI. They would just wouldn't have arrested him. Oh my god, Evergrande is proposing to engage multiple companies as financial advisors. Oh, I hope China allows that to happen. Oh, I hope they allow that to happen. Oh, it's fantastic. So, but yeah, no, like that's just stupidity all around. Like I said, I'll figure out how to get Streamlabs to work on the MacBook because I was going to show you guys those filings and the TA, but fortunately, that's not going to happen. If there's no other questions or comments at an hour and a half, I will go ahead and crush this thing. Just let everybody know. Morgan Stanley sees Brent hitting 100. Ooh, okay, hold on. Back in October, well, technically, way before then, I was talking about the Brent crude futures for the oil, right? You guys don't know where that is. The Brent crudes are from just north of Scotland. It is UK oil. It is one of the most untapped. Now, it's not the biggest by any means, but it's one of the last frontiers of well-known oil. They had been tying that in intrinsically to the U.S. market through the 424 B2 forms, right? So now that a lot of hedge funds and banks are starting to swap bonds for oil again, I said the Brent crudes would be the next frontier. What did Bloomberg just say? The major banks are saying the Brent crudes are going to hit 100 by third quarter. Just saying. Another prediction going right. Which is a good thing because if we use more Brent, we're using less Russian and OPEC, right? OPEC helps us because of the petrodollar, but we need to be more solvent anyway. And OPEC already came out and said that they can't supply the world enough anymore to keep up with the demand because we shut our pipelines down. So, and speaking of oil products, we are China's largest. We we import the most LNG to China. So they're actually paying us to stay afloat, energy wise. Well, thank you, Extreme. I'm assuming that's a phonetically way to say extreme. Since you play with phonetics, you can technically, legally write the name Rob, WRAUBBE. Phonetically speaking, that is 100% accurate and grammatically correct of how to spell the name Rob. Here's another fun fact. When we write Robin Hood, ROBIN, that's not actually the real way of how to spell Robin Hood. It was back before they really recorded the names of like peasant people. So they don't know if it was ROBYN, ROBIN, ROBYNE, HOOD, or HOODE. They have no idea. So over time, the spelling of Robin Hood has actually changed to fit the cultural norm, which obviously for a very long time has been ROBIN, like the bird. Another fun fact, I guess. Bova revamps wealth management product team under C's. Yeah, good, because JP Morgan blew them out of the water. All right. So because I dropped some weird knowledge on you guys, I'll get another minute or two. Oh, they're about to sign the bill that's going to give us more competitive edge against China back and help build our semiconductor industry. Yes. Very nice. South Korea is about to sell $9.5 billion in bonds. See, the bond sales are coming. Keep trying to tell you guys. So, extreme. Do you have any questions, bro? Is there the last one comment? Oh, we got Bobo. No, Bobo, it is not common knowledge who they duped the shorts on. Unfortunately, it is incredibly hard to find short positions properly reported, right? Unfortunately, you do need some insider access to really get those. But they've been, like I said earlier, it's a silly thing to say, but they've been slowly. Oh, well, thank you, Extreme. A lot of the big players have been slowly covering over time, right? Nobody wants to admit that, which is why I'm hoping Dr. Bonds eventually comes on because he's going to go, nope, nope, nope. This is how it actually works, right? Because he's an insider, right? He obviously never speaks out of turn or what he legally can't talk about, but when he goes into it, he goes into it. But no, they've been slowly covering. Now, when I say that, doesn't mean they're not still shorting, right? They'll go back to the whole latency arbitrage style, but they'll cover as many as they need, then they'll reshort, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. So that is what that is. All right. Couple seconds. Any last questions? I'm going to go ahead and end this bad boy. Oh, if Streamlabs worked, I was going to redo. Sorry about that stupid dog. I was going to redo the exercise that we did with Giovanni in his base call, where, somebody throws out a random company to me, then when I can screen share, right, when I find out how to make that work on the MacBook, it's you check market cap versus cash on hand versus cash flow, and that's where you start. And if those don't add up, pump and dump schemes abound, right? Like poor Geo, poor Geo. He was a good sport about it. He was laughing. I was DMing about it just to make sure he was okay with it, but we were crossing him a little bit on his picks. Now, granted, they did come from YouTubers, but and then I'm surprised he went there, but we also started trying to explain people how to do ETFs, like how they're geared, how the price action can work, what the weight is versus the actual market caps of all the companies, and how often they're rearranged, blah blah blah. So, it is something I would want to redo. I just need Streamlabs to work, and I would need to plug my mouse in for that. But I do plan on doing a video about that, so you guys can get a quick basis of what to look for. That was also one of the reasons why he said retail gets screwed so much on options. I'll end it after this nugget. He said if you have a company that's worth $1 billion market cap, but they only have $400,000 in cash, and the cash flow is basically making them negative, he goes, you basically need to have that company go 600% to really make money off those options. He's like, the stuff that retail is told is just so stupid, right? And he's not legally allowed to trade, right? So he's not one of these people that's trying to push anything, right? Because of his job, he legally cannot trade. In case you guys didn't know that. So when he comes on and speaks, he is a neutral party. He legally has to be. So, and he will never say which institution he works for. I don't think he legally can. But with that said, we'll go ahead and end this bad boy. As always, let's get that bread, baby. Oop. Okay, hold on. Oh, what's up, Jay? Your name's Javier? Didn't know that. So I was just about to hit end, baby. You just called me. So with Netflix, right? Okay, so you go to the end of the stock market basically on every stock today. They all just tanked because of the bonds, right? That hurt everything. But Netflix is almost number 2 now for subscriber count. And so Amazon, surprisingly Crunchyroll, which makes me happy being a nerd, they're actually the 3rd highest subscription service, which I was astounded. But Netflix is no longer the king like it used to be. So the fact that their subscribers are starting to slowly drop while the other ones are gaining steam. So naturally there's going to be a correction there. Okay, trying to just re-reference rated the yuan again, please. Okay, so Netflix dropped down for a couple of organic reasons and a couple of funky reasons. Okay, I did this live in a space once. Everybody was dumbfounded when I did it. So when you hear people say, "Oh man, Evergrande," let's just say, just sake of easy math. I'm not doing it now. If you guys want to do it later, you can. If the yuan, if $1 is worth 6.35, it's 6.3492. I'm just rounding up to 6.35 to 635 yuans. If you take 100 billion yuans and you divide it by 6.35, that's how much it is in US dollars, right? So when people are like, "Oh man, 100 million or 100 billion yuan, that's going to tank the US," bruh, chill. divided by 6.35. Numbers ain't that big. That'll be what? Rough math, 17 billion US dollars. Whatever it is. Someone's going to comment or tweet me. You got the math wrong. Okay, I'm using my brain. Right? Like 16, 17%, whatever it is. Like, or 16, 17 billion. BlackRock wrote off 40 billion from them. And David's right. That's less than most state budgets in the US. Baby, like, come on. Well, people keep saying Evergrande's going to do this. Man, Evergrande ain't going to do nothing. Nothing. Right? Just like, yes, is the repo market really, really high? Technically setting all-time highs, yes. But when you take inflation in, it's actually not even close. Now it is, because now it's been about 1.5 trillion for a while. But if you take the dollar from 08 compared to now, you need $1.28 to equal $1 in 2008. So you needed to take off 28 cents of every dollar in the repo market to see if it's actually comparable. So when it was a trillion to a trillion, well, it was a trillion to 72 billion, or 720 billion. Just in case you guys didn't know. So if it's 1.5 trillion, that would make it what? 1.22 trillion in 08, which I think that might actually be the top. So I think we might actually consistently be higher than it now. But, the math isn't hard. Everybody was freaking out. Like, we're still a couple $100 billion away from beating it. Everyone's like, no. I'm like, okay. It's just that easy. But Javier snuck that last one in. Somehow I got on the Evergrande and pricing and inflationary costs. But this has been my very random TED Talk for the evening. I might be bopping around Twitter later. I don't know. But like I end all my other videos, let's get this bread, baby.